All right, so today we're gonna do TRX oil change. Just like anything else, there's a couple little nuances which probably why this video might be helpful, just from there's a couple little things that'll make it a little different from, say, the Challenger. Pretty much you always have to remove something for these, especially get to the oil cooler to drain that. This is actually a little easier from that standpoint, but the bottom skid plate's got to come off. It has 60mm bolts. And then there's the oil cooler drain. It has 14mm bolts. So everything can pretty much be done with, actually it's 15 I think for the oil cooler. So 16 for the skid plate that's got to come off, and then you've got 15 for the oil cooler, and I think 14mm for the drain plug, and they're all 6-point. Technically, I think this filter works. The SRT filter, which is hard to get, it's more expensive. They've done some cut up and test on. I guess there's like a drain back valve that's a little different with those under high pressure. So it's a little superior filter. It's just harder to get right now. So I've got just a regular one. It's a 899 MO Mopar filter, and that's what we'll be using. So anyway, so we'll get started and kind of show you so you can kind of get an idea of like what it looks like under there in case anybody's wondering that hasn't done it before. Anyways, all right, stay tuned. All right, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 bolts. These over here, you only have to loosen the front ones. Technically, it slides off. I've been taking them off completely, but now that I know that you can just loosen them, that's what we're gonna do to make things a little easier. So I just loosen the front ones. That allow it to slide off, and then the back ones. I think it makes it easier from instead of falling on your head, sliding it. You loosen that front one a little bit more. That sucker is not light. Okay, so once that's off, you have, and I'll show you, you have access to everything. So make sure your oil filter sits here, and there's like an actual drain spigot that's going to shoot that off, which that's going to interfere with my lift a little bit, so we'll see. It's going to probably spill in there. And then right here is your drain plug for the oil cooler, and your drain plug access is right under there for your oil pan. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and start loosening those. And there's the drain. Start with the oil pan. Okay, so this is 14mm. Here we go. Hope it'll splatter on the camera. This part's pretty self-explanatory. I think it has a magnet on the bottom of the drain plug. There we go. And you can see, looks fine. Oil's pretty dark. That's probably maybe like 500 miles over my oil change interval. Actually, I take that back. Probably like 200 miles, somewhere down there. So we'll let that drain, and then we'll come back and get the front side. All right, now we're gonna do the oil cooler. A lot of you guys are probably like, why is he changing his oil himself? You can take and get it done, but I just historically don't trust service techs. Rather do something myself. It's relatively cheaper. You know, it doesn't take a lot of time. I don't know. I just feel better. It's something that I want to do myself compared to letting someone else. There's too many horror stories of things not being tight, and you know, this a lot of times they'll skip the oil cooler part, which it's not the end of the world, but something that I want to be done. I'm talking for the video, Charlie. I'm talking for the video. I'm talking for the video. Oh, such a pothole. That actually wasn't even on there very tight, so I think it's supposed to be 20 foot-pounds. I'm kind of glad I did this, because the oil cooler was very loose. I mean, I barely had to make a turn on it. What, baby? And also, in hindsight, I want to pull a little bit further back so I can not be directly under my 4-post, because this is making it kind of a process to divert this oil. So let's see here. I'm gonna try to divert it into here and see how successful I am. What? If you want to, baby. Okay. Not a lot coming out of this thing. Slow kind of drain. And honestly, you know, skipping this step, it's probably not the end of the world. Depends on how much comes out of here. There's probably less than half a quart in there. That's my guess. Now the filter can be a little bit harder to get to just because there's looks like cooler lines, I think trans-cooler lines running right by it, so it's kind of like surrounded. So your normal oil filter wrench is gonna have a little trouble getting up in there. So we'll see. One thing I did notice is they used I bought it from a dealer. It's my first oil change with it. And it looks to me like they used a SCP filter, which is the incorrect one, which everybody has different feelings about that. That kind of irks me personally. So it looks like this drainage has come down to a very small amount. Let it drain for a little bit longer. Okay. That's enough to satisfy me. And they say 20 foot-pounds on this. I'm not going to use a torque wrench, if I'm being honest, but I will do tighter than it was, that's for sure. I'm pretty anal about torquing stuff when it comes to engine components, but this kind of stuff, to me, as long as it's tight. Let's see. This bracket, I will notice that if you do a lot of torque on it, I feel like this bracket is not very strong. All right, so next step's gonna be the oil filter, which is the most difficult step just from the location geographically. Okay, so I like using these little, they're like a cloth filter rinse that you wrap around. As you can use them on any size. Mine's kind of torn a little bit from using it, and you just wrap around and you can get up in there real easy. And I'll show you what it looks like. But it gets it loose super easy. It's this style. You see where mine's torn. It's gonna probably break at some point, but right now it's still working. So let's see if I can catch all this stuff. I have to put my hands down for a minute. It's actually working perfect. I don't even need this funnel. Kind of divert. Normally I'll fill my filters with like halfway full of oil, but there's no real good way to do that. This is a sideways mounted one, so I don't know. I'm gonna try to put a little oil in it, but I don't think I'm gonna be able to go that far with it. Yeah, so I typically use 0W40 Ultra Platinum is what it calls for. There's been rumors of not using this and having your warranty void, so I always try to use what they recommend. That way they can't say anything about it, and I keep my receipts. Always like to take the filter ring, put a little oil on it. Usually put a little bit of oil in it. This one I would normally fill halfway, but I'm not going to. Mainly because I got to turn it sideways, it's gonna all dump out, so I don't want to lose all that new oil. So we're gonna load that on, and then we're gonna pan back here in just a second to basically us adding the oil, and then we'll do the reset on the vehicle. So. And next we just gotta put our skip plate back on. You've got those bolts still loose, you can just slide it and it'll stay in place. It makes it a lot easier. The other way, that's a big pain in the butt. Overall, we're looking at like, I don't know, 15 minutes. But I do have a lift, so it changes things a little bit. But very super easy. And like I said, this is a 16 that goes on here. 16, 14 for your oil drain plug, and then 15 for your oil cooler. One more. Let's add the oil. Like I said, I think about 7 quarts. All right, so we're gonna do 7 quarts. Luckily, Mopar was smart enough and put an extension to add oil, because otherwise this would be a big pain in the butt. But they have an extender piece that comes up and allows you to add oil from the top, since the engine sits so far in there. Okay, so it's actually 7.5 quarts. This is how we do a reset. You go to run position, and then we're going to use our menus. Here we go. Oil change required.
All right, so after you've...
All right, so we're gonna do our oil reset. You're gonna go to run position, and then you're gonna go down to not diagnostics. We're gonna go to vehicle info. Go over to, should be oil life, there we go. You hold down OK in the middle of your screen, and that should reset it. Just reset. That's it. And you're done. That's all of it. Alrighty, so that's pretty much the oil change thing for people who are just bored and wanting something to watch. Alright, thanks.